Hey guys, Nick Kringus here, and today I want to talk about scoreboards. I'm bringing this video to you today because we had been kind of struggling for a while to create scoreboards for individuals, which sounds a little crazy, but I thought since we had a small team and there wasn't much overlap between people and roles, that we'd go to the individual level and ask those people how they can contribute, how they can impact the critical number, and then we'd build scoreboards or put their metrics onto scoreboards. But it turns out that after the session I had today, the training session with the GGOB coach community, individual scoreboards are rarely ever used. Usually it's a department or a role or a work group scoreboard. We do have an overall company scoreboard, which is mostly financial. And that's all of the P&L kind of truncated down into smaller categories, so less categories, but it's the P&L basically. Everything is accounted for on there on the P&L. And it's also some items from the balance sheet. But what I'm learning is that each team or department should also have a KPI, at least one KPI, but not too many. So the most important KPI, the most important number. It doesn't have to be financial. It could be a driver. It could be actions, things that we can control. But there should be one work group KPI on that overarching company scoreboard. So we have the top level company scoreboard all set. What we're trying to do now is create scoreboards around the company because, as you see here, what the great game says is if you're not keeping score, it's only practice. So good rule of thumb and kind of best practices say to have scoreboards everywhere because people want to know the score. And not just at the top company level, but once you roll this out and implement it where you have every employee in the company playing the great game, you're going to want to have each one of them on their own huddle and tracking and then forward forecasting their own numbers that make sense to them, usually drivers and activities that they can track. And so let's go into it. A few examples here of scoreboards, which I think you might find helpful. And this is from me again, trying to put this into play in our own agency. And after failing coming up with the individual scoreboards, I realized that we had to come up with the team scoreboards first. So that we'll go through some examples here. And so the teams at our agency that we need scoreboards for are sales and marketing. We already have. It's like we thought it was just a tracking sheet, but essentially that's what the scoreboard is. It's a tracking sheet of activities, things you want to keep track of, what you measure improves, and also a few lag measures. So it should be mostly activities, things we can control. But a few goals or things that we can't control, the result as well. So they're saying that for every 2 lead measures on these scoreboards, there should be no more than 1 lag measure. So mostly actions and behaviors, mostly things that we can control, lead measures, and only a few lag measures. So with the sales and marketing scoreboard that we created, I don't have it up, but we're tracking things like initial contacts made, responses, so people that respond to those initial contacts or reach out to us, appointments set, appointments kept, proposals out, and clients signed. So as you can see, there's a few in there that are outside of our control, like clients signed and people that respond to us. But over time, we'll be able to get conversion rates from each one and see if we can increase the conversion rate from one step to the next so that we're getting more clients on the other end, on the other side of the funnel, if you will. So let's get into it here. So again, if you're not keeping score, it's only practice. Winners are fanatics about keeping score. They understand that if you're not keeping score, you're not playing for real. That allows you to make the right adjustments, improve performance, and win the game. If we go down here, these are the types of scoreboards. There's financial scoreboards. This is like your top level scoreboard for the entire company, which includes an income statement, and some items from the cash flow statement. They have their entire cash flow statement in this example, but we don't. Balance sheet, excuse me. We have a few balance sheet items and nothing from the cash flow statement. Actually, it's a little bit advanced. Maybe we'll get there one day. The critical number scoreboard. So this company, SRC, where the Open Book Management and Great Game was founded, they have one just for profit. So people can see how much profit they've made over time. And it's like a thermometer. So it goes up on the left by bonus level. So people can see what it'll take to get to the next bonus level. And essentially each bonus level is one more percentage point of their base salary paid to them in bonus. So something that all employees, I'm sure, would be interested in. Team or driver-based scoreboard. So this is what I was just alluding to at the beginning of the video, that we need more of these. We don't have scoreboards for our drivers or for our work groups. The minigame scoreboard you have seen, we have that as well. It's our fishing for clients minigame scoreboard. I will do a video in the future about minigame scoreboard examples, but minigames are awesome. They're at the heart of the great game, and they really, it's like a 6-week to a 90-day challenge. So I don't know what that is in days, 6 weeks, but it's about 6 weeks to 90 days to the full quarter challenge, where you're trying to improve on something or you're trying to go after a different opportunity. But essentially, you want to change some kind of behavior within the company, and there are scoreboards for that too. And then right here, player scoreboards. So this one is tracking an individual player scoreboard. They call it a scorecard here. Less frequently used, and it tracks their daily, weekly, and monthly activities and goals, things that they can do to impact the critical number. So I do think it's important to have each team member go through how they can impact the critical number and kind of come up with ways of things that they can focus on to impact the critical number. But I also think we made a mistake in that we should have the work group or team or department scoreboards done first before we ask individual players how they can affect the score at the end. Because there's too many, for a lot of people in the company, they're too far removed from, sometimes too far removed from the critical number if that is like profit or something, but they are not far removed from their department scoreboard. That tracks what the output is from that department anyway. So it's a clear line of sight from them to the department scoreboard, then up to the company scoreboard. I hope that makes sense. So let's go through some examples here that I found on the community site. This one was my buddy Kevin Walters, the guy I interviewed. He's the great game coach that I'm shadowing. He had a catering company before he was a great game coach, and they were tracking mistakes in the company, in their catering business. And they always thought that it was a critical number, that if they can limit mistakes, that they can take over market share from other people. And the only way they lose clients is by making mistakes or packing the wrong order or whatever it may be. So this scoreboard is very simple. It was in a catering company, and the goal was 65 days mistake free. And they have names of people, and they're putting them into these different categories of days in a row without a mistake. This one is a little bit different. It's kind of like a sign, but also important for them. Warning, prices up. So on these items, the prices were too expensive, so consider not buying them or waiting till the price dropped, or buy them at limited quantities. And the good price over here for these items here, so feel free to buy as many as you want. And then this was the Tasty Catering's top level scoreboard. I'll go through this really quickly because I wanted to just focus mostly on driver scoreboards, work group scoreboards in this video. I think you've seen this before, but this is the top level financial scoreboard for the catering business. They have sales at the top, total income. They have COGS, expenses. In the next tab, and you can see here, they have owners, backup owners. You could also see here that on the second tab, they have comps. That's money given back essentially for mistakes. So it's pretty good that they're going after 0 comps for that month. And they're forward forecasting. So every week what happens is every week we get together in our Great Game Huddle for the company, and we say, what does this month look like? At the end of the month, what will it look like for your number? So each week we're getting better and better forecasts as the week goes by, as the weeks go on, and as the month comes to a close, we're getting more and more accurate forecasts. But this was the first week of the month that they were forecasting out what the whole month would look like. Down below, separate metrics. So we have some beginning cash, we have some balance sheet items, and at the bottom we have the bonus structure laid out here, and we have the profit before tax cumulative. So people want to know where they are within their bonus plan, and that's down there. He also has in a separate tab, he has the first tab, descriptions and definitions, second tab, descriptions, definitions, and then this is another one from the catering business where he has the cost of individual items up on a wall so people can clearly see like which plate they should use. If they can use a little plate or a medium plate compared to a big plate, they're saving nearly $1. You know, it's essentially almost a quarter of the price of the bigger plate. So it gets people aware of what's happening and how their actions affect the bottom line. So I thought that was really cool. Other scoreboards that I'm, frankly seeing for the first time, some of these, but let's go through them. So down here, they're tracking individual efficiency. So they have each person's efficiency up to 100%, and they have cell one utilization. So I guess that's the unit, and they're tracking the overall utilization of that cell each day. So then we go down. So yeah, it's basically the same thing. Team efficiency and team utilization numbers. So we have all these different teams and their efficiency and utilization numbers. So that's important to them. Those are drivers. Those are things that they can control. OD scoreboard, training, communications, chaplain services. So we have owners, baseline, prior month average, and then we have either they're reporting these or they're forward forecasting. The goal is always to get to a point where you're forward forecasting every single number, but we'll get to that at the end when I go through a few best practices. So we have category onboarding, cost per team member, train the trainer, team average. So there's a lot of like training and HR related tasks. Then we have communications, chaplain services. So these are all metrics that if they're done right, the health of the company would get better, or they would do better as a company. These are metrics. These are activities that they're tracking that will give them a result on the other end of the company having more money in the bank or making more sales or what have you. It seems pretty obvious there. Engineering and quality scoreboard. So we have product, process, and quality for this team scoreboard. We have design project milestones to plan, ECO average days open, BOM accuracy, material disposition, capacity additions, and on and on. So, and this is for their company. Obviously, these are important to them. They're not going to make much sense to you if you're not an engineering firm. I will, again, I'm going to go through a little sheet at the end that has best practices and coming up with what numbers matter most to you and best practices. So people and culture scoreboard here, they have a scoreboard where they have an owner, line item. It's only 4 of them, which is awesome. And they go through each week and they report or forward forecast. Not sure what this company is. Most likely it's forward forecasting. Here we have IT scoreboard. So they have tickets close ratio, 95% is the goal. Average first response time, average resolution time, production system downtime, and value generated by IT personnel. And then last but not least, we have a facility scoreboard. Meets weekly on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. in the facilities office. We have the owners on one side. Then we have line item, work order compliance, booked labor hours efficiency, machine downtime, and fleet monthly scheduled PMs completed. So let me see if I can find the... So these are the scoreboard success factors. And let me just go through one more time. The one that we did for our agency was for sales and marketing. Then we're going to go on next, and we're going to go on to design and development, the content team, the SEO team, And the sales and marketing, I already said, we're going to go through that one now. And I think that's it. But so the next goal for us is, instead of going down to the individual team member and coming up with drivers and how they can affect the critical number, we're going to go to each of these departments and ask them, what are the things that are most important for us to track in your department? So here we have scoreboard critical success factors. People support what they help create. I say that every video. The work group needs to develop it and own it. It can't be something that management from a top down or command and control style says this is what you need to be tracking. That will never work. It doesn't work as well unless you get the buy-in from each person that's actually working the business and doing the work. Multiple line item owners. So just mix it up so there's not one line item owner that has every line. You want to get people involved here. Simple, which just means it should be pretty simple for the people playing the game and doing the work to know if they're winning or losing, and it's trackable. Everything is trackable within a few minutes. Like, it shouldn't take very long to track these things. If not, you might not want to track the number just yet. Obvious that the team is winning or losing. Color-coded green or red, for example. Meet people where they are at, meaningful to the work group. Some work groups will not do simple. So there are scoreboards that, for more technical companies, they'll have like a lot of different line items on their scoreboard, and that's okay too, as long as they know what they're tracking, what everything means. Okay, here's a few more guidelines to creating good scoreboards around your company. The first part here is just starting off the session. That's for the coaches, really. But down below, it's questions to ask to uncover potential drivers. So these are good. If we had our best day ever, what is happening? So what does that look like if everybody's just really hitting on all cylinders, doing the most that they can, they're very productive? What does that look like? What does that best day ever look like? What's happening? What is happening when we had our worst day ever? So what type of things are not getting done? So not in terms of like sales or lag measures, but think in terms of activities. Like, if we're really productive that day, what's happening? How does that look? How do we drive or influence the critical number, the financial scoreboard metrics, and our department scoreboard metrics? So you need to go around the room and kind of get each person's input on how either they can impact these other scoreboards or critical number, or what ideas they have as a group that they can collectively impact these critical numbers and KPIs. What must be true for our team to get our products or services to our customers or to the next work group? Or what must be true for us to be successful in this area? What will you track? So measure and report. What will you track, measure, and report? Out of the metrics drivers that you have listed, which ones do you have the most control over? So you don't want to track everything, because then the meeting will take forever. You want to have maybe about 5 to 10 different numbers that you want to track on a weekly basis during your department meeting. Which ones are causing you the most problems? Which ones really define winning for your work group? Select the 20% that will make 80% impact. Have you included all metrics? What about metrics that will help you be better team players? Have you thought about metrics that define winning with people, culture, community, safety, operations, processes, customer quality, and then build the scoreboard for your team finally? So these are kind of like the examples that we had shown down below. And a good point that somebody made today was, when you first start doing this, you don't want to ask people to forecast on these departmental scoreboard line items just yet. Let's just start by reporting every week and making sure that we're reporting the right numbers, and go like 6 weeks or so by open book reporting, which is kind of backwards of the great game. But for the first 6 weeks or so, just go through just reporting those numbers, make sure they're trackable, make sure you can find the data, and make sure that they're actually the numbers that you want to track. They're actually important, and then they actually have an impact. Only then will you ask each person, like, hey, do you feel comfortable giving a prediction or a forecast of what this number will look like for the month? So then we get, slowly but surely we'll get into forward forecasting for these departmental scoreboards and line items as well, just like we have in the financial scoreboard or the company overarching scoreboard. So again, we start out with just reporting the numbers, making sure that the numbers are the ones that we want to track. And then eventually we're moving into getting people to come up with forecasts or guesses or predictions. It'll be forecasting at first, but over time they'll get good at it, just like we did with the overarching company scoreboard. Okay, finally, from there, you want to take the 1 or 2 max numbers from each department scoreboard, and you want to put those on your main company scoreboard at the bottom. So on the bottom of the income statement items, or P&L, whatever you call it, on the bottom of the main balance sheet items that you have on there, you want to have work group KPIs or work group metrics, or whatever you want to call it, department metrics. So these are main metrics, 1, maybe 2 from each department that you want to track overall, that says like, this is the main number for this department, and we know overall, like the entire company can see if we're winning or losing in that department. So that's everything I have for you today in terms of scoreboards. This was really helpful to me, again, because I was struggling with this for a long time, thinking because we're a small company, I wasn't thinking so much in having departmental scoreboards. And plus we're like a flat organization with that. We don't have that many middle managers. So I wanted to just go straight to the individual, and it wasn't really working that well. Like, we do have teams and we have departments. So I'm not sure why I was so stuck on getting individual team members drivers. I still like the fact that we had them come up with ways that they can impact the critical number. That's fine. That was helpful. But we were stuck. We couldn't finalize them. There were some people that were just, they just didn't know how their work really affected the overall critical number. Whereas now, if we build scoreboards for each department, there will definitely be a number in there that they can impact. And they have a clear line of sight to that number. So next up for us is I'm going to go through all departments, all teams within our agency. We're going to come up with these scoreboards. We're going to start tracking the numbers and reporting the numbers. And then hopefully in about 6 weeks, we'll switch over to more of a financial forward forecasting model. That reminds me, I said financial, and that reminded me that these numbers, we've already been tracking a lot of financial numbers on our overall company scoreboard. So these driver numbers you should start at least initially with non-financial numbers. So if people are giving you all financial numbers, that's fine, but let's steer them within the work group, within the department, to non-financial numbers, to activities, things that they can control. And remember, mostly activities, lead measures, and only a few lag measures on each. But the goal of it is to look at the activities, the things that we can be doing every day to win. Remember, people support what they help create. I hope this was helpful to you. Remember, scoreboards everywhere. Everybody wants to know if they're winning or losing. They want to keep an eye on the scoreboard. If you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to reach out. And thanks again for watching.